Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter for boxing related tweets, or you can subscribe to the channel. Click that notifications button and get a new notification whenever a new video is uploaded. Lots and lots to talk about tonight. Some exciting developments that will whet the appetite for future fights, let's put it that way, as well as a couple of different things that I want to discuss regarding the direction the sport is going in. So let's get started. Anthony Joshua has had a lot to say about all his rivals, whetting the appetite for boxing fans the world over. He started off talking about Tyson Fury, picking up from where they all left off regarding their fights and the broken down negotiations. He said his team let the whole boxing world down. We did everything during a pandemic, the toughest time to organise a fight like that. Then boom, they cancelled. I stayed ready to fight them all because I'm a throwback fighter. He also had the bronze bomber in his sights, Deontay Wilder. He said, I've never seen a fighter go into war with one weapon, his right hand. Top level, that doesn't work. As we've seen now, he struggles at the top level, and there's a lot more of us waiting for that opportunity to kick his ass. I'm an elite level fighter, not one of the tomato cans he's knocked out. He better watch out what he's saying, because when the day comes for me and him, I know what I'm capable of doing. He ain't an elite level fighter. But he hasn't stopped there with the alpha male mode, Anthony Joshua. He's also gone after Alexander Usyk. When asked what danger Usyk poses, he said none. I fear none of them. He don't bring me nothing I ain't seen before. What has Anthony Joshua been doing apart from obviously running his mouth and feeling ultra confident, which is what you want to see. That's the entertainment factor of the heavyweight division. Well, apart from that, he's been sparring Thomas Carty, an Irish heavyweight who's just 1-0, so hardly the most experienced of heavyweights, but he's a southpaw. And they've been talking about how southpaws are hard to come across. And as a result of that, they believe that he can offer something in preparation for Alexander Usyk. Now, Carty's clearly been loving sparring Anthony Joshua. He has sparred Lawrence Okolie in the past. He's sparred Derek Chisora. He's helped them in their camps. So despite his inexperience of just one professional fight, he's a guy that's been around with some top-level opposition. But let's talk about some of the things he says here in an interview regarding being in Anthony Joshua's camp. He says, there's no egos whatsoever. Sparring is just sparring. There are no liberties taken. Here's where it gets interesting. Nobody has asked anything in particular of me. I am left-handed and I'm light on my feet. I utilize a lot of movement, so I naturally emulate Usyk. You can feel the intensity of the training. Everybody is here to work. You can feel the vibe and the atmosphere. AJ is a gent. He's a normal bloke. Nothing crazy. He's the heavyweight champion and he's just an average bloke, a really nice fella. I have the same goals. Iron sharpens iron. It's a tactical advantage, in other words, to have him in camp as a southpaw fighter, but only if utilized properly. I don't have an extra arm or leg, but I do see the benefits. So many orthodox guys have only boxed orthodox fighters. It makes me stand out. I'm a young Irish southpaw heavyweight. There are no others. Most boxers don't like to fight southpaws. If you've got 100 boxers in a gym, maybe one will be a southpaw. In the heavyweight division, apart from Usyk moving up from cruiserweight, there's Luis Ortiz. Other than that, it's an advantage as a heavyweight to be a southpaw. So clearly, Anthony Joshua has been looking for what is rare available sparring with a southpaw fighter. The problem is, I've seen Thomas Carty's one fight, or I've seen part of it. I've yet to see it all, to be honest with you. But I've seen a little bit of it. And I have to disagree about his analysis that he's particularly light on his feet and that he utilizes a lot of movement and naturally emulates Usyk. I don't see that. Yes, he moves around, but to me, he looks a little bit clunky, a bit cumbersome, a little bit stiff. Now, that's not to say he can't go on to be a good fighter. That's not to say that he might not be a lot more fluid in the gym. It was his debut fight. He might have been very nervous. He might have lacked fluidity as a result of that. But if we take at face value that one particular fight, he was often holding his feet, planting his feet in the center ring. He does not move anything like Alexander Usyk. He does not have the same level of foot pressure as Usyk. Timing him won't be as hard as it is Usyk. Now, that's not to say these are the only guys he's going to work with. No doubt Anthony Joshua is going to bring in some other top-level sparring from cruiserweight and also from light heavyweight even. He won't go hard on those sorts of guys, especially not on the light heavyweights, but it will be about timing. It will be about knowing how to cut off a ring on a guy like that, timing him when he's in and out, things like that. And he'll need that. He'll need to work on these things because I can't see a method in which he relies on Thomas Carty as a chief sparring partner. Now, make no mistake, Anthony Joshua has an elite level team around him, no doubt about it. When you've got that much money invested in you, I highly doubt that Thomas Carty is going to be the only guy he spars with. But I just don't see the massive tactical advantage that people are talking about here. Yes, there are certain size dynamics which will play a role. Yes, there are questions of angles which he will help him get used to. But in terms of sparring, will the lack of ability to find sparring that is of the level of Usyk harm the preparations of Anthony Joshua? Is he going to be able to make that jump between the difference in level in sparring compared to the fight? Now, I know some of you are going to say, but hold on a sec, Chris. As if Alexander Usyk's going to find somebody who's quite at the level of Anthony Joshua. So it's going to be a big jump for him as well. Sparring's one thing, but finding guys at the elite level is going to be difficult. While this is true, it's not going to be as hard for Usyk to find a big, strong, technically gifted boxer who's very good at the fundamentals in a bid to emulate Anthony Joshua, an orthodox heavyweight. It's a lot easier to do that than to find somebody who moves as fluidly as Alexander Usyk, who is going to be willing to take the risks that Alexander Usyk will be willing to take to put the foot pressure on Anthony Joshua. So to me, it's an easier job for Usyk. Will this play a role? In terms of preparation, will it play a role in the potential outcome of the fight? Let me know what you think about that, guys. Now, moving on to Wasserman boxing. Now, first and foremost, I have to shout out Gregsy at Gregsy8 on Twitter, who first brought this to my attention. He messaged me to say, Chris, Wasserman has just partnered with KSI to dominate the crossover celebrity boxing market, or so it seems. I think it's genius as the zone looks set to dominate normal boxing. So what's basically happened here is that KSI, Wasserman Boxing, a company called Proper Loud, which are a management team, his management team, and the Sauerlands have all teamed up to create, well, what KSI refers to as a new promotional company. Now, because it's a new promotional company, it's unclear whether this is going to work alongside boxing, almost like a separate sport, or whether they're going to continue to mix and match shows like they have been doing. I have the feeling it's going to be the latter based on some of the things that have been said. Kalle Sauerland said, head of global boxing at Wasserman, this is a major move for the boxing and entertainment industries. KSI is a megastar with huge crossover appeal. He knows how to market himself and he knows how to sell events. He will bring a new audience to the sport of boxing. Now, that's interesting. It's ironic because Kalle Sauerland has been very, very critical of the whole YouTube boxing thing so far. Was it Logan Paul who he was promising that he would smash up and he'd love to fight when he was doing his usual gum rattling speech? You gotta love Callum, man. But yeah, was it Logan Paul or was it Jake Paul? It was one of the two. He was getting them mixed up himself. So now for him to be diving into this, it shows you the new trajectory that the business of boxing is going down. KSI himself said, since beating Logan Paul, I've been plotting my next move in boxing. Whenever I make a move, it's always big. I'm excited to announce that I have partnered with the Sauerland brothers, Wasserman Boxing and Proper Loud to create my own boxing promotion. Get ready for some incredible events featuring the biggest names from the world of sport and entertainment. He didn't say the biggest names from the world of boxing. So this could be more examples of footballers, like American footballers and actors and singers all fighting each other and stuff like that. Look, the problem with this potentially is, there's a lot of clout chasing. One of them just hit Paulie Malignaggi on the back of the head of some sort of powder, I don't know what it was, and by the time Paulie realised what was going on and got up, he was commentating at the time, and went after this guy. The security had grabbed them both and separated them. One of these guys is going to get hurt one day, in my opinion, because, listen, as Paulie says, At least the Paul brothers have been doing this for a couple of years. So they're taking it seriously. Jake in particular is training on a daily basis and has been doing so for 2-3 years. So whether you respect them or not, they're at least working on it. They're trying to take it seriously. Whereas you're having a lot of other YouTubers now who are just wanting to, dip their toes in the water. That's all well and good, but as the phrase goes, you don't play boxing. So it's interesting to me that Sauerland has, been so critical, and now he's signed KSI. Now KSI is definitely influential, and in my humble opinion, what would have been the smarter thing to do, and maybe this is part of what they're planning to do anyway, is while they're doing a few of these silly little crossover sort of dabbling in the sport from YouTubers, for him to start talking more about actual fighters, bringing them onto his YouTube channel, having a bit of banter with them, creating a scenario whereby his following is somehow developing an interest in actual fighters. I'm not sure I want the trajectory of the sport to go down this road. I'm really not. As a fight fan, it's not what I want to see. I think we're moving further and further away from quality, and it's becoming more about style rather than substance. And as a hardcore fan, I want to see the best fight the best rather than gimmicks. Now, I did recently speak about some of the things Sky could do to play on those gimmicks. I'm talking in order to rebuild. I'm talking from a business perspective. But I was talking about doing it with actual boxers, creating personalities of actual boxers, their personas and stuff like that. Not guys that are not fighters. So I just want to clarify that before someone says, but Chris, it was only a couple of videos ago you said this, this and that. And if they're going to use the platform of KSI to do that, I get it and I understand it. But if it's a case of them sort of throwing a lot of money behind this and trying to move boxing into a new direction where it becomes ultimately a bunch of guys where it's ultimately a competing and being watched due to a popularity contest, and then you've got other actual boxers who are hoping to hang off the back of that to make a bit of extra cash, you're going to be in a situation where the best aren't fighting the best, and the best are going to be chasing money at all costs. Let me know what your take is on this. This is just the nature of the beast, I guess. But moving on from that, let's talk about Charlo. Jermall Charlo has said, let's see if Andrade can beat the dude I just fought, Montiel, and then we'll talk. What is he on about, man? This is about Andrade, by the way. What is he on about? Look, Demetrius Andrade against Charlo would be a unification fight, right? You've got the WBC champion in Charlo, and he's talking about Demetrius Andrade as though he's just like a run-of-the-mill dude. He's the WBO middleweight champion. Why would you talk about him like he's a prospect? He's not yet fought anybody, and all of a sudden he needs to prove himself to get a shot at you. What's that all about? These guys, man, at the PBC, and I'm not trying to hate on the PBC. I'm not, because listen, I want as many promoters out there as possible. I don't believe in a monopoly of one promoter. When you get that, boxing will turn horrendous. They'll up the prices of pay-per-views. You're going to get fighters that aren't earning all the money that they deserve to be earning, because where else are you going to go? Just go look at the UFC model. They've got Bellator and what have you, but the UFC is so dominant. Fighters, because they have limited options, they don't get to demand money that they could be demanding. You're going to get... It's just going to go down a route that I don't want it to go down. I like the idea of different promoters competing with each other, but only if the fighters are going to be fighting each other, and the best are fighting the best. We need to be calling this stuff out, man. You can't have two champions, both with belts, and one of them's telling the other one, you need to prove yourself to beat me, to fight me, when the guy is undefeated and has a belt. If you don't rate him, get in a ring with him and take his belt off him. I don't understand the logic. And obviously, I can imagine Andrade reaching the end of his tether with all this. He keeps talking about not being able to get a fight, and Charlo's jumping on the bandwagon of what Canelo had said, and how, Andrade is a terrible fighter, a horrible fighter is the word he used. He's literally copying Canelo. Listen, man, Canelo Alvarez is a superstar. He's going for the undisputed super middleweight championship. If after he does that, he was to go back down, and then he didn't fight Andrade, he didn't fight Charlo, or he was going to stay at super middleweight, didn't fight Benavidez, these sorts of fighters, then you're going to start pressuring him and saying, hold on a sec, you need to make these fights happen, right? But in the meantime, you can't really blame Canelo for wanting to fight Plant and not Charlo or Andrade, right? Makes sense. But why is Charlo not wanting to fight Andrade? Let me know what you think, guys. Listen, a lot's gone on over the course of the last couple of days. Clearly, let me know what you think about all these issues. Let's talk about Anthony Joshua's comments, what you make of them. Is it just brash talk? Do you feel like he's in that alpha male mental state? Do you feel as though the sparring that he's getting is good enough preparation against Alexander Usyk? Do you think Usyk's going to be able to find anybody to spar with that will be able to prepare him for Anthony Joshua? And then, of course, talk to me about Wasserman and the deal they're making and where the sport is going. And talk to me as well about Charlo and Andrade and his demands and whether you agree with him. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please don't forget, hit that like button, that notifications button, and that subscribe button and help the channel grow. Share the videos too. Thanks very much. Take care. God bless.